Good day to you all. I'm Akhiratna Singh from University of Marathu, Sri Lanka. I'd like to present my research paper on the evolution of information flows in construction projects with specific reference to the intervention of augmented reality as an innovative information management mechanism in construction industry. In past few decades, construction professionals were always wondering on how far the construction can be more productive as a sector through a proper integration with modern technologies. Accordingly, with the development of information technology in the global context, its relevance on far more conservative construction industry also to be highly noted, where many scholars widen construction project success criterion to a fourth pillar called information management. Therefore, Rajhans viewed proper integration of project information at every level of a construction project to achieve information management, where Rankoi acknowledged the importance of innovative technologies to achieve convenience and greater efficiency towards information management. Hence, as an innovative ties towards overpowering the information management barriers in a conventional construction environment, the need of augmented reality has been highlighted by many scholars. Therefore, this research expects to answer the problem of how far the AR can be incorporated into the construction processes to eradicate the barriers for an effective information management. Accordingly, this research aimed to investigate the potential of AR to overcome any barriers for an effective information management in a construction project. In order to achieve the above aim, following are the objective of this research, which directs step by step towards answering the research problem. Now let's move on to the research methodology of this study. Firstly, a background study was conducted to establish a research gap in literature and aims and objective of the studies. In order to investigate on how far the existing literature has answered the identified gap, the qualitative research approach followed by an extensive literature survey was employed with journal articles, conference papers, books, and other scholarly works. Subsequently, the gathered qualitative data were analyzed through manual content analysis followed by the findings of the studies, which are the information management barriers and how far the augmented reality might be able to overcome identified barriers. As the next part, let's move on to the research findings of this study in accordance to the predefined objectives. In order to investigate on how augmented reality has intervened with information flows of a construction project, it is much necessary to know the information flows that have already been existed so far in a traditional environment. Among those, I will describe only the most prominent one, where literature shows two types as formal and informal information flows. Formal information flows transfer information such as procedures, goals, and policies of the organization, which occurs as a systematic process in a pre-planned form, and messages follow a chain of command. In contrast, there will always be an informal information network in any formal working environment. This is mostly because a strict hierarchical formal pathway is not always function efficiently, which of course requires information flows outside of the network. I hope you all are clear with the rest of the information flow types illustrated, which are much common in our day-to-day life. Now let's have a look on the existing barriers for an effective information management in a construction project. Accordingly, many scholars have categorized barriers under several methods, and this study has concerned more on the applicable methods among many of those. We can simply identify three types of barriers which may exist in any construction project. Process barriers, which involve with components of the information process. In simpler terms, we all know that any conversation process is consisted of a sender, encoding of his message, decoding of the message, and then finally the receiver with the feedback. Secondly, the physical barriers, which denotes the characteristics of the surrounding environment where the communication takes place, which also may negatively affect the effectiveness of the communication. Thirdly, psychosocial barriers which cause due to memory, selective perception, filtering, and attention, and culture and tradition. Rather than those, some studies view the barriers for effective communication in terms of complex nature of information, diversity of workforce as skilled and unskilled, language and cultural discrepancy, lack of clear objective, fault transmission through inappropriate mediums, and less use of innovative information technologies. It is no doubt that augmented reality makes you feel a bit of fancy like rocket science. But the application of this concept is far more common in modern humans' day-to-day life. From $1,000 worth Google Glasses to Microsoft HoloLens, hundreds of devices have been so far introduced which are primarily based on the concept of augmented reality. The augmented reality was coined as a term in the early 1990s by Codel, who developed an AR system to assist workers at Boeing Corporation. Consequently, scholars define AR as an actual view of a built environment that has been enhanced by adding the virtual information. The core in an AR system can be considered as a software and database running in a portable computer. The database comprises of the 3D model which are to be viewed and their geolocation. These are positioned by the software consistent with the data retrieved through the registration systems. Then the composite rendering of the virtual model will be superimposed by the software on the display device based on the data of location, the orientation of the viewer and the virtual model, and the field of view of the display device. Therefore, AR can be simply described as a type of virtual reality where the display is transparent. Although virtual reality is the approach where the user is completely immersed in a virtual environment, AR allows the user to interact with both the virtual and real objects in a seamless manner. At present, numerous mobile platforms such as smartphones, tablet PCs, and personal digital assistants are capable of supporting AR technologies. Now we have come to the most important part of this presentation on how the AR can enhance the existing information management practices. It is one of the dictums in the information management domain where the transparency of fact-based decision-making improves the management of information. Accordingly, the information accessibility for decision-making on work planning, design reviews, work execution, and monitoring can be enhanced through a combination of real and virtual environments. Among those, AR's significant role in virtual site visit, preempting schedule disputes, comparing as-built and as-designed works, enhancing collaboration, training planning for similar projects have been far more appraised by scholars. You may also see how the AR has gradually expanded its role in information management domain with the given examples of cutting-edge AR applications. For more clarity, AR's further applications identified by the scholars have been presented in this study under two main stages of design and construction. And within the time restriction, I will only discuss in depth on the most important and relevant application for this study. AR provides a unique advantage of integrating the design into the as-built environment perspective. Accordingly, a built-in schedule on a future date can be showcased through AR by letting the customers realize on how the building will look in real and also pre-visualize its placement. As one of best users of AR, construction works can be inspected by examining the alignments of as-built conditions compared with as-designed drawings of models to discover discrepancies. Use of AR will also accelerate the construction task since it depresses the frequency of switching between the workpieces of tasks and related information resources by making the information readily available in real context and real time. Therefore, AR can provide instruction for the workers such as correct work procedures by displaying digitalized information to improve accuracy and safety. The barriers of implementing AR in construction industry can be discussed under technical and social barriers. As illustrated in this table, technical barriers are far more focused towards technological specification of AR, such as performance of AR devices and their capabilities to achieve far more accuracy in rendering in between the virtual and real environment. As the second type of barriers, called social, are more concerned on the various viewpoints on the mindset of the construction stakeholders. There less knowledge on the importance of AR, unnecessary fear about the job security with such technological intervention, and less training of AR might become barriers for an effective AR implementation. I hope now you have a clear idea about the information management barriers and AR's implementation in construction industry. Accordingly, this study has acknowledged 7 instances where the common barriers have been overcome by the characteristics of AR as technology and information management mechanism. In line with various stakeholders involved, their expertise and knowledge may not always be transmittable with maximum efficiency. This is known as interoperability. This barrier can be overcome by AR through providing the ability to guide workers with visual instruction and provide with 3D visuals, which is understandable for stakeholders in any knowledge level. Moreover, language barriers due to experts from different disciplines and continents can be overcome through improved understandability of spoken words with simultaneous use of AR visualization. Likewise, AR has presented with its promising features to overcome barriers due to lack of clear objectives, faulty transmission, and finance restrictions. As for the conclusion, many scholarly works have identified proper information management as a necessity for the successfulness of project delivery, whereas findings indicated that barriers to effective information management in construction environment remains as same. Considering the overall findings, it can be concluded that the applying AR in construction will be positively affected to mitigate the information management barriers and in enhancing the efficacy in construction projects. Thank you very much. That is the end of this presentation and feel free to raise any questions. Thank you again.